Hey cats, it's Ed, Freddy the Frog Bud here. Today I aim to unlock the Puma running shoe lineup for you guys for 2023. I've received loads of requests from the viewers to explain the running shoe lineup from Puma right now. They're a little confused as to which shoe they should use for which run. Which for racing, which for training. Let's run wild with those big cats. Thanks for tuning in, esteemed midsole colleagues, always good to have you here. If you haven't done so yet, help the channel to continue to grow by hitting that subscribe button and clicking the bell for notifications too. Give this video a thumbs up, like, and also share it with your running buddies. It helps out a whole bunch. Danke schön. Today I'm unlocking the mystery of the Puma running shoe lineup in 2023. Actually, it's not really a mystery, it just needs a bit of explaining, that's all. There's some absolute bangers in the current collection, though I've received lots of messages from the viewers to do this video and kind of go through each of the current shoes. So hopefully I'll answer a load of different questions in one foul swoop. Okay, so first up we've got the daily drivers from Puma. What are they? So straight off the bat, the Velocity Nitro 2. This is your daily mile muncher. A great low price on this one, but it's not low in cushion. It's actually ample in cushion. There's a whole stack of different colorways. You don't have to have this sort of high-vis fluorescent one. And I don't think you need to worry about unstable foams here. You've got a nice slab of Pro foam on the bottom, which is a little bit more responsive, and then the nice squashy Nitro stuff on top. So it's a bit of a combo sandwich. I think it's an ideal combination really if you're looking for something that's nice and airy and light, reasonable midsole stack without overdoing it. Perhaps one of the better shoes for people that are after some stability in their daily shoe, though they still want it to be nice and forgiving. There's nothing here that's overtly kind of in your face in terms of stability. And there's a hefty smattering of Puma grip on the bottom as well, which makes it quite a multiple surface friendly shoe. You can pick these up at retail for $105, but I see them all the time on discount, around about the sort of £75 mark. Great daily option for me, I think. Those sort of easier runs, maybe 8 minutes 30 a mile through to about 7:45, so some more steady pace kind of stuff. And I think you're probably good to about 7 or 8 miles in these before you start thinking, well, I wish I had a little bit more cushion. So that's your daily driver. It's kind of like your Pegasus, I suppose, of the Puma lineup. So next up for some more daily type running, you've got the FOREVERUN Nitro. Now this is a lot more cushioned, there's a lot more midsole stack here than the Velocity Nitro, that's for sure. I find this absolutely perfect for those sort of easy to steady pace Sunday runs. Also, if you need a bit more cushion as well, but don't want that sort of squashiness, you've got some stability elements here in the heel. They've added some pieces to the lateral and medial sides there just to give you a little bit of protection. Now, the dual layer midsole is once again implemented here within this shoe, though it's a little bit different this time around. You've got kind of like a cupped midsole frame, and then within that you've got a softer version of Nitro, so you've got like a softer landing zone sort of in the center of the midsole, and then the rest of the foam sort of cups around your foot. The upper is very light and airy. I've had no problems using this one in these warmer summer sort of months, but it's still nice and flexible in all the places that you need it. Now it is a touch heavier than the Velocity Nitro 2, which is to be expected considering that extra midsole stack, but I think that increases the distance range that you can get out of this shoe. I think it's pretty well placed around £140 here in the UK at retail, though I am seeing lots of them around about 110 right now. I think that's fantastic for a daily shoe. So the other daily beast, the FOREVERUN Nitro. Now, I wasn't sure where to place this one in initially, but I think it does fit into a sort of more daily category, and that's the MAGNIFY Nitro 2. I think this one's almost released, or it seems to have released in a couple of places, at least here in the UK. It's a little lighter than the FOREVERUN Nitro, and one of those shoes that yet again covers a slightly wider sort of range of distance and pace. You can get some easy efforts in this one, perhaps some longer distance running as well, and some casual use as well. I think it's an absolutely beautiful looking shoe. This time Puma's opted for one big slab of Nitro foam rather than sort of two different versions of it within the midsole. In fact, I believe there's 7 different versions of the Nitro foam. That comes straight from the horse's mouth. Well, it's not a horse, he's a man, and his name's Todd Folker. This one's supremely forgiving on foot. I've worn it day after day, and it really does ease those aches and pains. In fact, I found it a really nice recovery shoe for some of those sessions after a really tough workout. I think this personally is the most maximally cushioned Puma shoe in the current lineup, So it goes up against the likes of the Triumph 21 or like the Nimbus 25 from Asics, though it's a little bit more squashy than all of those. I think if you want that extra compression and protection for those longer runs, then the MAGNIFY 2 is the way to go. Okay, that's all the sort of daily stuff out of the way. Let's get to some speed. When you're wanting to turn up the pace for those interval or repeat sessions, maybe some threshold effort like I did this morning. It was pretty horrific, humid as anything in the evening, so you got to try and get out in the morning, but it was no better today. Like 50 minutes with 30 minutes at sort of threshold, you know, hard effort. Yeah, I look like I've been in a swimming pool after that. There's several options for speed training really from Puma. One of those is the LIBERATE Nitro 2. So a slightly lower weight, lower stack shoe here with only Nitro in the midsole, and you've got a slightly lower drop as well in this one of only 5mm. Thankfully the lower vibes also extend to the price. You can find this one for less than 100 nicker sometimes, or that's 100 Earth credits if you want the conversion. Now the LIBERATE Nitro 2 is a touch heavier than the first version of the shoe, but it still features a very nimble quality that I think many people will enjoy. It's just so simple, you know. It's one of those shoes you could throw on to do like 10 by 200 meter repeats, maybe some 1k reps or like a 5k blast. You could use it for like a part run, maybe use it on the track as well, perhaps even 10k. If you were sort of more nimble, lighter runner, perhaps. I think it might lack the cushion that many people desire. Perhaps if you're a heavier built runner, it may bottom out. That lack of depth there just might not be quite enough for you. But I think for the lighter set crew, it's okay for like 6 to 7 miles. Maybe even more if you're a bean stick man like me. For some extra cushion for those speedier miles, you might want to reach for the DV8 Nitro 2. This thing's super squashy in the forefoot, man. There's loads of Nitro Elite foam in this one, as well as a Nitro core to things. There's like one part that sits on top, straight under your foot, which is made of the Nitro Elite. You've then got this forked plate that sits underneath that, and then you've got a slab of the Nitro foam, which makes up the remainder. So you've got a composite plate here that sits between the two sections, and it makes for slightly more flexible kind of carbon plate type shoe, slightly less rigid than a standard flat plate. It's just all sort of one piece. The midsole on this one's actually got quite a bit more Nitro Elite foam than I first realised. It's really interesting seeing how the two parts sort of cup together. I think this could be ideal if you're going to be doing some threshold like effort. You want something that's a little bit more propulsive, you want a little bit more rigidity from the midsole, but Puma have improved the fit massively over the first version of the shoe. Perhaps if you had a bad experience with this one, you won't get that here. Really good lockdown now, especially around the heel. Awesome for some faster paced tempo runs, maybe a longer run with some faster efforts thrown in. I found this one ideal for sort of half or full marathon pace. Maybe a little bit too bulky for someone that's after something for like 5 or 10k. Perhaps if you're a slightly heavier runner, it could be ideal really for a 10k effort. Again, all of these shoes have got stellar grips. You've got Puma grip here. This stuff is just insanely durable, and it doesn't appear to be all that sort of heavy either. Okay, that's speed taken care of. Onto some racing now. What are you going to put on for race day? I was using this one this morning for that threshold effort. It's the Puma DV8 Nitro Elite 2. It's a rocking colourway. I don't believe this has been released over here in the UK, not that I'm aware of anyway. Now this one's a touch lighter and a little bit more fitting than the DV8 Nitro 2. You've got a full Nitro Elite midsole this time round, and the plate is a little different as well. You've got that first section of Nitro Elite, and then you've got a full plate as you can see here, and then more Nitro Elite underfoot, all kind of sandwiches together in a very simple design actually. I find this one super stable and it really sings at pace. It's a very natural feel. It doesn't feel like the shoe's kind of forcing you to run in a different way. Certainly another one for those full or half marathon efforts for me. If you don't like the overly narrow sort of Adidas or Nike fit, then the Puma's probably a good one to test out. Doesn't sort of mess with your arch too much in this area. Very minimal, simple upper here. There's a little bit of padding in the tongue. Nice width to the shoe as well, and the lockdown in the heel is fantastic, despite there not being a sort of conventional counter back there. Not too rigid with this one. Puma have absolutely nailed it. I've enjoyed it for intervals and reps and longer runs at steady pace. I shall also probably opt for this one for the Wessex 10k in August, down in my neck of the woods. I think the Puma grip will come in handy for that. There's some varied terrain on that race. by far the most versatile of all of the Puma shoes in the current lineup in 2023. Okay, last shoe that I own, because there's one that I don't have, is the Fast R Nitro Elite. This is like the outlier of the range, really. It's the one sort of pushing the envelope. It's right on the boundary of what is a shoe and what is a piece of art, I suppose. Fast R Nitro Elite is very aggressive. I found it to be better actually for me at 10k to a half marathon pace. Sort of like a vicious attack of the shoe. You've got this sort of firmer section in the heel and then super soft foam up front. It's a lovely big landing zone as well here. Almost reminds me a little bit, I guess, of the Metaspeed Sky Plus. The weight of the shoe and the upper materials kind of make it disappear on foot, especially when you're running at that fast pace. I think probably one for those stride runners really that are coming down a sort of bit harder, I guess, on the heel, and they want something nice and responsive in nature. Really is quite something, this shoe. It's one of those you really need to try out and sort of see what you make of it. So that's the other recommendation for racing, is the Fast R Nitro Elite. So we also have the FAST-FWD as well. That's their 5k pace shoe, though this is very specific in its design cues. You've got that really prominent drop off there in the mid to forefoot. It means you're perhaps not using the foam as much as you might hope to. If you have tried the FAST-FWD, do let me know. It is one that I have yet to test out. I've got to be honest, I'm probably not quick enough for that shoe. So that's the entire Puma running lineup, and road at least, in 2023. It's something for practically every session and run type. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on all of these down in the comments. Musical interlude time. In the last video I mentioned I've been listening back to some of Bernard Butler's material. I think it was probably around 1998. He reissued the People Move On album recently, and you can get access to all the B-sides, and they're fantastic. Actually a little bit better than some of the tracks on the album. Another two tracks to check out are The Sea and My Domain. Now, both of these are very different to the other two tunes I recommended to you. These are quiet, sort of plaintive ballads. My Domain's like a beautiful Nick Drake style finger-picked acoustic guitar number. Really warm, really inviting sort of sound. It's a really nice vocal performance by Bernard Butler on that one as well. The Sea is a piano-driven song, which is very different, I suppose, to some of the other tracks he did on the album. It's a shame he didn't get to play more of these live, I suppose. A lot of people would have never heard them because they were released on singles, just kind of got sort of pushed to the side. B-sides around that period in the 90s, as I keep telling a lot of my students actually, were sometimes better than the actual A-sides. They kind of got used up, you know, to add on some extra lengths to CDs. But yeah, The Sea and My Domain are absolutely fantastic. Shows the real skill level that Bernard Butler had, you know, not only playing guitar but on piano as well, and a very sort of emotional singer. It's a shame he didn't do some more solo albums around that period. Go and check these out from Bernard Butler's People Move On era. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's video and you found it interesting. Give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you